Okay, so now we are going to talk about the different scenarios that we have for opening in the fall and for running throughout the 2020-21 school year. And we're back with Josh Bubar, Assistant Head of School. So Josh, can you just first outline some of the thought that went into planning the three scenarios that we came up with to run this year?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost was the safety of the students, faculty, staff, our families that live here on campus. We really want to make sure that whatever we do, we keep that foremost in our mind. The other piece that was really important to us was the on-campus experience. We know that our student body in particular really benefits from the close connection they make with the faculty and with each other. That's an integral part of the learning process for our kids. And so being able to be here together was a really important part of our planning. And then we really wanted to make sure that we had a flexible plan that could allow us to keep the academic learning going throughout the year, knowing that circumstances may well change from month to month, week to week, even day to day.
Great. And so can you outline, we have three scenarios and they're available if people want to look at them in full, chch.org/reopen if they want to look through the plan. But could you just outline quickly, kind of overview the three scenarios that we're going into?
Sure. So the first scenario, which is essentially the most optimistic, would essentially be a reopening of campus as normal or relatively normal this fall, where, for example, the COVID-19 had been beaten back to the point where we were doing full interscholastic sports, where we weren't concerned at all about how many students were riding on a school bus or one of the minivans. The second plan is more of a hybrid plan, where we know we have some students who will not be able to study on campus with us for a variety of reasons, but we have students who will be here in person doing their learning here on campus every day. And then the third plan was essentially redoing what happened in the spring for most of the United States, which is a distance learning or remote learning plan.
Perfect. So it sounds like, at least to start, we're going to be doing some online learning. Students will be there, teachers will be there, online teaching and learning. So that also had happened since the spring. We had some experience with that. So can you tell me just a little bit about how that went and what maybe we learned that's going to be rolled into this year?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the spring was incredibly difficult, obviously, for everybody in so many ways. But I actually thought we did an outstanding job, particularly given the circumstances, providing a really good educational and, in truth, emotionally supportive experience for our kids. One of the hardest parts about this was we wanted all of our students to continue to maintain their academic momentum. Lots of our kids show up in September and it's a new school and they really start to build their momentum through the winter, and then all of a sudden in March we were going remote. How do we keep that momentum going? That was really important. But also, how do we support all of our students in this incredibly emotionally trying time? And so I think we did a really good job with both of those things. We learned that daily contact really helps. So we're going to continue to do that. We also learned that Zoom fatigue is really a thing.
Sure.
And so one of the pieces that we're doing as we go into our remote learning plan is, we typically have 75-minute classes here on campus. And while we're going to maintain our daily schedule as it is when we go to remote learning this year, if and when we go to remote learning, we are going to shorten each of those classes down to 50 minutes. Essentially because we know that a 75-minute class meeting is really, and to do 4 of those potentially in a day, is too much for the faculty, it's too much for the students, and it's not going to lead to good outcomes. We are, however, going to maintain our faculty's availability to kids virtually. That was really important to our students. We had lots and lots of students. We probably had more students voluntarily coming to office hours virtually than we do during the year when we're here in person. And that may be just because kids are here on campus and they can always say, oh, I'll see them at lunch. But I think it was also because kids during those trying times want those connections with the important adults in their life.
Agreed. And then finally, just how the role that parents and families had in not only shaping the scenarios, but sort of in providing feedback and helping with these plans. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I think for our parents, they really want learning every day. And I think they really want learning on campus. As we surveyed our parents, roughly 80% of them are saying, we're having our child come back to campus. We feel comfortable in the environment you're going to provide to have our son or daughter here. About 20% of our families, either they were in a situation where their child was perhaps health compromised in some way, and for some of our international families, they were recognizing that initially the travel to or from to the United States was going to be really challenging. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the reasons we're really focused on having in-person instruction for as long as we possibly can, hopefully throughout the year. I think the other thing that we learned from our students is that less is more, particularly in the remote environment. The idea that we are going to have every little tiny assignment done, or we're going to even assign them, doesn't make a lot of sense in that environment. But that we're going to keep our eye on the big picture. We're going to keep our kids moving forward with the significant skills and content area knowledges that they need, so that when they move on to the next grade or they move on from here to college, they're still well equipped to do that work.
Perfect. And finally, obviously things are changing as we're going, and flexibility is one of the guiding principles of this. So what's the flexibility like to have to change or pivot between scenarios?
Yeah, so that was one of the key aspects as we discussed internally what kind of remote learning schedule we want to have. Was if we keep our current daily schedule, that would allow us to pivot very quickly into a remote learning environment. It's entirely possible this year that in the fall, we may need to pivot into a 2, 3, 5 day remote learning environment before being able to come back to campus. Again, it's not entirely clear how the Commonwealth is going to decide school closures. Will they decide it on a statewide basis, a county basis, a city and town, a hyperlocal basis? And so we knew we needed to be flexible. And so in keeping that schedule, we could say tomorrow, hey guys, tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, these are remote learning days. We're going to follow the regular schedule, but remember, classes are only 50 minutes long. And I think that's going to really enable us to essentially seamlessly transition into remote learning for all of our kids and faculty and staff.
Perfect. Thank you. And I think that's really important for this year. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.